This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, our weekly flagship show, Marijuana Today, as well as the weekly shows Weed Wonks and Green Rush, which you can find over at weedwonks.com and greenrushpodcast.net. If you have a legal marijuana business, brand, or service that you want to introduce to the best audience in the industry, then you need to be spending some of your marketing budget with us. Get in touch with me today to learn how. Just email me at shay@mjtodaymedia.com with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, May 15th, 2020, and you're tuned in to episode 936 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the last news day of the week out west, where California Governor Gavin Newsom released yesterday a budget proposal that delays a previously announced merger between the three regulatory agencies in the Golden State that oversee the legal cannabis industry. We reported on this back in January, as Governor Newsom said back then that he wanted to see the duties currently performed by the Bureau of Cannabis Control, the Department of Food and Agriculture, and the Department of Public Health all rolled up into one new entity to be called the Department of Cannabis Control. But that's now all on hold due to the coronavirus, as yesterday's new budget proposal lays out. The National Association of Cannabis Businesses, or NACB, sent letters yesterday to the governors of 7 northeastern U.S. states asking that they legalize marijuana in a coordinated fashion to help provide tax revenue to aid in the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The NACB sent their letters, which you can read in full over at Marijuana Moment, to the governors of New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Delaware, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Pennsylvania. In it, the lobbying organization wrote, quote, "In challenging times like these, foregoing the chance to boost small revenue, minority ownership, employment, and state tax revenue can hardly be passed up, and we look forward to working with you and the legislature to achieve success this year." Unquote. Normally, this kind of story probably wouldn't land in the top headlines, but given the current state of the world and the extreme need to generate tax revenue at the state level, this one has more bounce to it. This is a storyline you should be keeping track of on top of similar pushes in other states. Our final top story today returns us to California, where yesterday state officials announced that legal marijuana businesses with expiring business licenses between now and the end of June can request a 60-day deferral on paying their license fees. This is part of an overall push by the state to ease the economic burdens placed on marijuana businesses, as the federal government has completely blocked out even ancillary cannabis firms from receiving coronavirus relief aid. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, our weekly show, Marijuana Today, as well as the Weed Wonks and Green Rush podcasts, which can be found over at weedwonks.com and greenrushpodcast.net. When it comes to marketing businesses, brands, or services in legal marijuana, our industry is a bit more constrained than others, given how difficult it is to advertise online. That's why smart and savvy marketers look for every potential avenue for delivering their message. And right now, there's no better medium around than podcasting. Podcasting reaches people like no other form of media and is engaging and personal in a way that is perfect for talking about whatever it is that you are up to on a business level. You will see results from sponsoring our shows because we have a lot of people who tune in, and they are the right people to talk to. That's all you need. Email me today at shay@mjtodaymedia.com to get your legal cannabis business, brand, or service on our advertising schedule. That's shay@mjtodaymedia.com with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. All right, time for the blitz. Activists in Portland, Oregon say they will cease their campaign to put a question about decriminalizing psychedelic drugs on the fall ballot and will instead press city councilors to pass legislation doing the same thing. The activist group Decriminalize Portland said in a Facebook posting that the realities of the coronavirus pandemic make it too difficult to collect the signatures needed. So instead, they would try to replicate the success of similar efforts in Oakland and Santa Cruz, California, both places where city officials passed decriminalization measures. Marijuana Moment has more here, as well as a good roundup of where other psychedelic drug reform efforts are throughout the nation. Multi-state cannabis operator Green Thumb Industries, or GTI, kicks off a string of 4 headlines about quarterly financial results as it brought in $102.6 million in revenue for the first quarter of 2020, an increase of 267% from the same quarter last year and 35% up from the previous quarter. That kicked down to a net loss of $4.2 million, an improvement over the $14.1 million GTI lost in the last quarter of 2019. Pop over to New Cannabis Ventures for all the other numbers and details and other things here. Canadian marijuana giant Aurora Cannabis has our next set of fiscal numbers as it saw net revenues of $78.4 million for its third fiscal quarter ending March 31st, up 18% from the previous quarter. Aurora realized an adjusted EBITDA loss of $45.9 million, which was better than the $80.3 million lost in the previous quarter. This is another story that you can dive into more over at New Cannabis Ventures. Another story, another New Cannabis Ventures financial update with multi-state cannabis operator Columbia Care bringing home revenues of just over $26 million, up 105% from the previous quarter last year, stacked on top of an adjusted EBITDA loss of $10 million, which is about as much as it lost in Q1 of 2019. Updates and details and more numbers at New Cannabis Ventures. Deborah Borchardt of our Green Market Report breaks up the New Cannabis Ventures party with a look at the financial results just posted by the cannabis company Charlotte's Web, which had first quarter revenues of $21.5 million, ever so slightly down from the $21.7 million in revenue pulled in during the same quarter last year. Like our previous 3 headlines, that positive revenue number sits perched on an adjusted EBITDA loss of $5.7 million. Deborah's reporting that Charlotte's Web laid out a lot of money in the most recent quarter as it completes construction on a new 137,000 square foot facility, but that it has plenty of cash at hand with $53 million available in the bank. Open up Green Market Report if you need more here. A new report out of Colorado is predicting that the amount of tax revenue generated for the state's coffers will fall for the first time since cannabis sales became legal back in 2014. Colorado has been one of the leading states in the U.S. in terms of the amount of money generated from legal cannabis, as it's expected to pull in $301 million for this fiscal year, which ends in June. The top bullet point on this is the $293.5 million state regulators anticipate making in the coming fiscal year, a drop for the first time since 2014. We end the day and the week on a cheerier note with Denver Westward's Thomas Mitchell detailing 2 new Native Roots adult use dispensaries that have either just opened up or will open up in the city of Denver. The 2 new stores have been in the works since pre-pandemic days, but I think it's still a good and hopeful note that Native Roots followed through with getting them open. Let's take all the good headlines wherever we can find them. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again next week with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today. Today.
One take, Shay. One take.